Coaching in Session,
your exclusive destination for unparalleled personal and professional growth.
With your host, Michael Rearden.
Whether you choose to live within limits or break free, your mindset journey begins here.
Welcome, Anat Peri, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, today we're going to be talking about your work, inner child expert and mentor, and it's a very unique name because people are going to think, I'm an adult, I'm not a child. And so we have to definitely look at what is an inner child expert or mentor for an individual. Could you tell us who you are, what you do, and how you help?
Ooh, wow, that's a loaded question there. Where do we even begin? So I'll start off by defining really for people what it is, the inner child, or the way that I define it. So yes, we are all adults here. And at one point we were all children. And most of our learning and imprinting happened by the time we were 7 years old. And a lot of us are still operating from that script. It was a script that we inherited, that we learned from what we saw, heard, and felt energetically from mom or dad, and we either copied or rebelled. So yes, we are adults. And Michael, don't you have moments where you find yourself acting like that teenager or that child, or unable to express yourself, or shut down in certain ways, or communicating in ways that you're like, I'm not exactly showing up as my adult self?
No.
It's also, our inner child is also the part of us that feels. It's all the emotions. And we have forgotten how to feel and express our emotions the way a child expresses their emotions, which is fully self-expressed. We have become a culture of suppressing as opposed to expressing, intellectualizing our feelings, talking about our feelings, but not actually feeling or expressing our feelings. And so to me, when I think of the inner child, it is that part of us that feels and the part of us that's holding on to that script that we inherited, where we learned this is the way to be, where we had all these beliefs of, you have to work hard, or Love isn't possible. If you came from a broken home, parents were divorced, maybe you learned that love doesn't last. All these parts of our script. And so the opportunity now as adults is to realize that we are playing out that script that we inherited, and that we get to take control over it. We get to become the editor. We get to really discover, what do I want to keep? What don't I? What have I been just playing out because it's programmed in my subconscious as the way to be? And so it is the access to healing from all the generational learnings and sometimes traumas that we experienced as a child. So even if you don't have any kids, you now have one. And if you have, let's say, 3 kids, well, now I'm introducing you to your 4th. The most important one is learning how to tend to yourself.
If you ask my wife that question, I think she would definitely agree with you. Just because of my background, I've been working with children for so long. And, just a moment ago, I was putting my 2-year-old to sleep, and, he's going through all the emotions. I mean, he doesn't want to take a nap, and he wants to go out and play. He has a new car, and he just wants to, be free. And I understand he needs that nap, because the way he is without the nap is not good for anyone in the household. So we are bringing him down for the nap. And so I failed before I got on with you. But if he's not sleeping by the time I get off this recording, he's going to sleep 100%. I already know. So this is a warning for him. But it's important, though, because not everyone in the audience is not going to have the background that I have working with children and things like that. So they're going to basically be moving along with life, maybe without a strong mentor, a strong father figure or mother figure in their life. And they're almost missing a piece of the puzzle. So they're living in their past, going to that idea that they are not loved, that they're not wanted, that they're not desired. And so there's a lot of unhealed trauma that many people in the world are experiencing. It might not be everyone in the world, right? Like me as an example, I had a loving father, a loving mother. I grew up, in the ghetto, but my mindset and my perception for that is very different than someone who's living in their circumstance saying, I guess this is it for me, because today is, as a testament, you can get out of any situation that you're in. But yet some people, they just say, well, this is what it is. And so that's where I wanted to begin the conversation. Why so many people, they get stuck in their narrative. They get stuck in their story. They get stuck in who they were once as a child and even now today as an adult.
A lot of them are not even aware that they're stuck in it. We all have what's called our survival strategies or defense mechanisms. I like calling them our bodyguards. That when we don't know when we feel overwhelmed, when our system feels too much, it's really quick. It's so quick that you don't even notice that it's happening. These bodyguards take over. It's kind of like that child takes the back seat and these bodyguards take over and drive the direction of your life. Now, many people could be are very successful in an area of their life that they're not even in charge of, meaning their survival strategies are actually running the show of that. But in other areas of their life, there's probably some gap, some room for growth that they're not aware of yet. So it's kind of like their ego, their ultimate protector, you could call it as well, is protecting them, is putting them into, let's say one of the patterns is the rigid pattern, which is I am my accomplishments. So they might have experienced in childhood that they get praise and love from mom and dad when they do well. And so they decided that how I feel safe, how I feel loved in the world is by always performing. And so in their adult life, they may be very high achievers and very successful. But at the same time, they may be workaholics. They may be on the verge of burnout. They may be have no time for relationship, no time to actually spend with their kids because they always have to be doing and achieving. What do you mean sit down and play? They may have no access to play. Everything is about performance and achievement. So that's an example where you may not even be aware that you're stuck in something because the performance part, the survival strategy is winning to keep you quote unquote safe. So that's
Yeah, it's very interesting, interesting in the sense of, like they are these people that I'm sure other people admire. Whoa, you're so good at business and you're making all of this money, perhaps, and they are doing all of these things and you're getting all this admiration. Maybe it's a sense of like a false sense of happiness where everyone is giving you that admiration. But then when you are behind closed doors, you are, sitting there with yourself and you have no choice but to say, okay, either I look in or I just keep remaining looking out and being busy. So yeah, I'm going to keep on focusing on my work. I'm going to keep on doing the emails and I'm not going to sit down. One of the reasons why people don't like meditation is not because they're not good at meditation. It's because they're afraid to look on the inside. They don't want to know the true person, for example, like me, right? They don't want to know the true Michael, or I don't want to know the true Michael because maybe the true Michael is someone, like I'm not proud of. Maybe it's someone who I don't want to show the world to. And that right there, that fear alone can be enough to say, I'm just going to operate in my lane, my comfort zone, maybe in the priority pass lane where everyone is like, oh, wow, like this person's going so fast or doing so much. But yet, at the end of the day, you're there with yourself, and whether you can be happy or not is going to be up to you. And it's very similar to fulfillment because people might think, okay, I'm going to go out, climb the corporate ladder. I'm going to get a very nice plus job. And I'm, this workaholic, this high achiever. And, I have a big house, all the cars and nice clothes, but there's something missing still. So it's like what's really going on? And it's not until we rewind a little bit, take a step on the brakes and just have a moment to be present. Can we say, hey, this is what I was looking for, but I wasn't going for. So how would someone pinpoint what they should be working for in their life if it's not a 9 to 5 or the corporate ladder, or maybe even, something as happy as family, like maybe they shouldn't be, focusing so much on family. I mean, we can go down the list of like, how would someone prioritize what they need to be looking at?
So none of those things are something that people shouldn't do as far as having a 9 to 5 or working corporate or having a family. The question is, do you know thyself yet? Right? We all seek that purpose or that external validation or following the societal norm of, you go to school, you get a good job, you get married, you have kids, all that. And for some, that is absolutely the way. So it's not whether it's right or wrong. It's more of, have you taken the time to get to know the ultimate purpose, which is to know yourself, to self-actualize, to make sure that you are in the driver's seat of your life, that your higher self, that you are really choosing that versus not feeling safe, not feeling secure, not knowing how to tend to those things and needing your survival strategies to run your life. So I'll share a little bit about myself because nobody knows anything yet about me. As a little girl, my mother's mantra was always think positive. So no matter what I felt, it wasn't that she always used the word think positive. She does now, and she did as I got older and sometimes, but a lot of times if I was upset about something, it was always, oh, you're fine, everything's okay, or upset about a fight with a friend, oh, but you guys are so close, you'll be good, which is all true. She had all great intentions. She didn't realize she was gaslighting me. She didn't realize that she wasn't nurturing the part of me that needed a moment to be in my experience, to feel the feelings that were there. So I didn't learn how to nurture myself. I didn't learn how to feel my feelings appropriately. I learned to just think positive and tell myself everything's good, everything's great. And so as I got older, how did that impact me? Well, I would find every way possible to distract myself, work harder, stay busier, hang out with friends, dump it on my friends, do anything but actually feel it. And spending time by myself, I couldn't do. There was this constant emptiness, this constant windstorm I felt inside of me if I actually paused and did nothing. So if I was at home, it was, I got to distract myself with something, or let me call a friend, or let me go to a friend. And then when I went to a friend, it wasn't about really listening and connecting with them. It was dumping everything on them. And so I became very codependent. And the idea of spending any time by myself scared me because I never learned how to be with those parts of myself. And so that's my inner child taking the back seat. Anytime any emotion came up, it was my two bodyguards were to dissociate. So that's called the leaving pattern, to leave my body, dissociate, live in my head, in my thoughts, or in fantasy, or to merge with other people, to please and appease, or to take care of others or do things for others so that I felt enough, because there was this emptiness of not enoughness for me. And that ran my life up until I learned how to tend to myself, how to tend to those feelings and emotions, and be able to then sit in meditation, as you brought up.
What would be a better mantra than to stay positive or to be positive at all times? If you look back at your example or your life, if your mother did or said something different, what would that good thing have been?
Yeah, to validate and acknowledge exactly what I'm feeling. Oh, you're sad. Yeah, of course you're sad. Yeah, you're going to fight with your friend. Yeah, come here. Let me hold you. Yeah, you want to have a good cry? Yeah, cry it out. I'm here. This is what all parents should be doing. And this is what we should be doing with ourselves, validating and acknowledging. I could tell you from hundreds of clients, thousands of sessions, the accuracy of that. Validate and acknowledge. Because when you do, you're creating a safe space for that child to feel whatever they're feeling. And there's been studies of this, that you can move through an emotion in 90 seconds if you're not resisting it, judging it, or running from it. 90 seconds. The reason that we get stuck in things longer is because we're not actually feeling them. We are judging them. We are telling our nervous system something's wrong, this isn't safe. And so it works for us always. It puts you in protective mode of fight, flight, freeze, or please. It'll put those bodyguards in the driver's seat. And so you're not actually moving through the emotion, which is the energy that's there. You're in a bubble. and it's on the outside of it. And people could get stuck in this state forever. They could live in this heightened state of hypervigilance or people pleasing or fleeing like I did, or needing to control or needing to have everything be perfect and right. These are the bodyguards that take over, and you could be in the back seat of your life forever. And so when we allow ourselves or our children, you have a 2-year-old, when we witness them and we say, yeah, you're feeling this way, and you just witness them. You don't judge it. You don't try and talk to them about it. You try and talk to a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old, say, what's wrong? Tell me, what do you need? They get more upset a lot of times because you're trying to logically have a conversation with them. And they're not in their logic brain. By the way, their logic isn't formed till they're 7 years old. They are fully in their emotions. And so it disrupts them. And if anything, then they get more upset. But if you actually just validate and acknowledge what they're feeling, set a timer, 90 seconds. Watch them move through it in 90 seconds. And if there's more, it's most likely because there's other emotions there. Like first they're frustrated, but underneath that, they're really sad or they're exhausted. But that's all. And it's the same thing with us as adults, is we have forgotten how to feel and express our emotions fully.
I think one of the things, or what happens with adults, is that they're afraid to express their emotions because of someone accepting their emotions. For example, men. I'm sure you probably hear this quite a lot. Men don't cry, right? Men have to be tough, right? Men have to suck it up and put dirt on their wounds and stuff like that. So we can kind of go down the list of all these ideas of what a man is, right?
Yeah, you got to be strong, toughen up.
Yeah, and confident, right? So if you're not this, you're not a man, right? So men will have these emotions and they won't open up to anyone. So they basically kind of fight their own inner battles themselves. And it's interesting that we're having this conversation because just yesterday or day before, one of my good friends from when I was up in Connecticut, when I was living in Connecticut, his mom just passed away. And I reached out to him. I said, listen, I was like, prayers to you and your family. And if you need anything, I'm here. Right. Just something simple. Like, when you're ready to talk, I'm here. And, it's almost like there's no quota, there's no proper form for our interaction, right? You want to cry, cry. You don't want to cry. You want to be drunk. You want to be whatever you need, right? There's no judgment, right? It's very similar to the Planet Fitness thing, the no judgment zone, but Planet Fitness is terrible. It's terrible, the gym itself. But the idea, though, right? This is like no judgment, but you have to be very careful in a sense to who you give that information to. And I like to think of it in the sense of like ammunition. And I'm not talking about war, but just like ammunition. And ammunition can be something that can be used against you. So if I tell you something like a secret, right? So let's say I'm going to tell you like, my dad beat me or something. He didn't, but he beat me, right? And then you're like, okay, in confidence. But all of a sudden it's all over the internet. Oh, Michael dad beats him and stuff like that. And he's having all these problems, right? So now I'm going to have like trust issues. Like I told someone something in confidence and now it feels like it's all out there, right? How would someone be able to identify the person if they're a good person to trust, to confide in, to say, hey, this is what I'm feeling? Because one of the things, if they have to go into their inner child or something in their past, I'm sure it's going to be a scary thing for them to give to someone, especially as like a stranger they're meeting or, going to be talking to for the first time.
Sure. So I want to address two things. One is that, and the other was what you first brought up about men and not having access to those emotions. It's for you to tend to your inner child. You're not going to necessarily go to someone that you don't feel safe with and tell them, you upset me, you hurt me, you did this, right? It's more in those moments to recognize I'm upset. Let me go excuse myself and have this expression release in, with myself. And then once I've felt through the emotional storm of that, I can have a conversation with the person because I'm calm again. I've processed that. Now I can go to the person and say, when you did these things or said these things, here's how it made me feel. And here's my boundary, or here's my request. So or I'm done being friends with you, whatever it is. So it's like you in your power. We're not victims here. Things happen. The world isn't always safe or trustworthy. It's never going to be. And it's not about telling ourselves or people aren't trustworthy or the world is a dangerous place. It's about the world is a dangerous place at times and people aren't always going to be safe and trustworthy. So you better be equipped to handle those things. Here's how to be equipped. Here's how to build that emotional resiliency to know how to face these things when they come up so that you don't go into the bodyguards, shut down mode, reactive mode, fighting, victim. That's all what the bodyguards would do, right? With the not your true, authentic, higher self. But you've got to get back to that higher self by first learning how to, I'm just going to excuse myself. I mean, this even happens in relationship. You get into a fight with your partner, you start yelling at each other, you realize, ooh, I'm really upset by what he said. Okay, I'm gonna go, and I've done this many times. I excuse myself. I go to the bathroom. I have my good cry. I hold myself through whatever I'm feeling. I come back to a neutral place, then I can have a conversation about it where I'm standing up for myself, where I'm sharing what happened, but I'm not dumping it on you. So that's the first. The second thing is what you had said about men and, yes, the societal norm of boys don't cry. Be tough. You're fine. That is the problem. That is the problem that has been around for decades now. And it is the root of why we see men in their 40s and 50s, why the suicide rate is as high as it is, why depression, why alcoholism. That is the root of it. And so right now, this day and age, with podcasts like yours available, with everything that's available for us as far as healing and unlearning what we learned that doesn't serve us, we have no excuses. All of you listening right now, you have no excuse. You can keep buying into that. But the truth is that the feelings are part of being human. That is the full spectrum of being human. And men need to find their access to that again. I've helped men, grown men, alpha men, CEOs, bawl like a little boy. And it felt amazing. We get to retrain our nervous system for that. And it's so important for long-term inner happiness. There's a lot of men's groups that have popped up where, okay, you don't feel safe doing it with anyone, everyone. There's a lot of communities right now where men come together and they grant each other that permission to scream, to yell, to cry, to whatever, to be fully self-expressed. And it's beautiful. And that's where we start to heal that toxicity that they're holding on to and the toughness that they feel they need to be. And they become more embodied, more well-rounded of men that are available for other men, for themselves, for their kids, for their family, for their partner.
I think of the book 10 Things to Do When Your Life Falls Apart by Daphne Rose. Great book. I'm just going to leave it there for anyone who wants to read it if they're going through something. The idea, I don't want to make it all about men today, but find someone who can be a mentor to you, a guide to you. It doesn't matter if it's a man or woman, but a boy or a teen or a man, wherever he is, will always look for another man to emulate. That's just the way it is. That's why one of the reasons why single moms have a hard time, especially when their boys start to turn teenagers. It's not that the mom is not good enough, right? It's just that boy is looking for a male figure. And the unfortunate thing for men is it doesn't matter if it's a good or bad role model. If you're growing up in the ghetto and you see a gangbanger with money and a nice car and chains, that boy's going to say, I want that, because he sees it as possible. He sees that as his reality. But yeah, he has other options, of course, right? He can go out, go to college. He can get a good job. If he wasn't able to afford college for whatever reason, he could join the military. There's avenues, right? I'm not saying you have to go to the military, but there's just avenues that you can do to look for good, strong mentorship. And men's groups are popping up very frequently because there was a gap in men, or the understanding of like, what is a man? Growing into, from a boy to a teen to a man, it was almost a vague type of thing. And it's very similar to, being a child. When do you become an adult? When you're 16, when you're 18, we think of like juvie court. If you do something wrong, yeah, you could be 16, but you could be tried as an adult if the jury or the judge decides that. So it's like, okay, well, I can smoke when I'm 18. I can drink when I'm 21. I can go off to war when I'm 18. If I want to go off to war at 16, I just need my guardians or parents' consent. So we have to look at, when does a child become an adult? Is it something that is a given in society, or something that is an internal thing that we realize, I'm no longer this child or this victim or this person growing up. I'm this adult that is a leader, that is a mentor, that is a guide.
I have a great answer to that. It's not about an age. It's about a level of development. There are men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s that in some area of their development are dysfunctional. And so the functional learning, it's not so much a becoming an adult as much as it is how much from when they are born till they choose to leave and go on their own, you as their parent have an opportunity to be developing them into that adult. It isn't, oh, you're 18, boom, you're an adult. It's, did I do everything possible to prepare you to be an adult, to function in the world as an adult? Now, you said something that's very accurate about, and I want to give more insight for you into this, about why single moms struggle with their boys and actually girls as well, because there's a different role that a mom and a dad play in a child's development. Mom represents an extension of self, and I've seen this accurate in all the clients I've ever worked with. And the reason for this is that when you're born and mom holds you and says, sweetheart, I'm your mommy, you don't understand what she's saying. And you don't recognize who she is, but her voice and her energy feels familiar because you just spent 9 months or so in it. And so in that moment, a baby doesn't see mom as separate. They see mom as home, as an extension of themselves. And therefore, they look at mom for everything related to themselves, how they treat themselves, talk to themselves, take care of themselves, love themselves. And they either copy mom or they rebel or they do the opposite. And sometimes it's not about how mom treated you, but it's how mom treated herself that you might have learned this is how the self should be. Now, dad represents everything that's not the self. Others, the world. The second you held your 2-year-old, how much love did you feel in that moment? Did you feel like you were just like bursting with it? Yeah. Well, the first time you held your little one, they felt that from you. They felt that energy. They felt that love. And that was the first time they experienced something outside of them loving them. Mom's love grew over 9 months. They got to be in that, but the energy they felt from you, it was a first experience of something outside of them that is emanating this high frequency of love. And so you become their role model for love. They're always trying to get back to that feeling of love. And so our fathers either live up to it or they break our heart. When I work with my clients and we get to the phase in our work together of healing their father, learning their father wound, what they experienced with dad, it is 10 times more emotional. It is heartbreaking, and it's supposed to be. If they're not feeling that, they're not actually healing it, because there was a need from mom for safety and nurturance. But from dad, the need was love. And if he didn't keep living up to it after that first time, Like my father, he was a workaholic. God bless him. Amazing man. Married to my mom this month, 50 years. But he worked. And when he wasn't working, he would work 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. He ran a hotel. And when he wasn't working, he was with the family, my brother, my mom, and I. He wasn't with me. I didn't get enough one-on-one time. So I didn't feel that I was getting that love connection I needed from him. So when I went through my healing, I had to finally grieve that what I needed developmentally at that age, I wasn't getting. And then specifically, there's areas of development from mom and dad that you learn. So going back to how do you become an adult? Well, think of it like mom and dad are teachers, and here's the subjects they're responsible for. So mom's going to teach you self-esteem, giving yourself what you need and want, your limits and boundaries with yourself, your ability to connect to yourself, and your ability to own your power, to be responsible for what you do and create. And they either teach you functional or dysfunctional of that by what you see, hear, or feel from them. And dad's here to teach you about how to relate with others, about connection to others. Are you being authentic in your connections? Are you being mature? Can you express what you need and want and let someone else support you? Do you have limits and boundaries with another person? And then, of course, you're also learning from seeing, how does mom relate to dad? What is their love like? What's possible in love and relations? And dad is your role model for the world. So if dad was authoritarian and very hard on you, and you were scared of dad, you might be someone that is scared to put yourself out there in the world because dad modeled to you the world is scary. So this is where the unlearning opportunity comes. They taught you what they taught you. They did the best they could. They inherited their learning as well. It's not their fault. And like I said, in this day and age, we have no excuses anymore. We have all the resources and guides and programs and podcasts and books available to us to take a look inside what's a script and to do the work to unlearn and go from dysfunctional learning. Because if you don't know how to express your needs and wants, and you don't have limits and boundaries with others, how are your romantic relationships going, really? How is your marriage? So you're being impacted. So are you an adult? Are you functional in that area? If you have functional learning in all these areas, life is humming. Yes, you are winning probably in every area of your life. And if you're not, I could point to one of those areas of development and be like, this is why.
Powerful, because when I was a teacher, even though it's not my job to say, to look at the children and say, you need help, you need support, your dad is doing this and it's not good, your mom is not doing the right things. I'm not there to judge or to belittle any parent. I'm just there to support them as much as I can in the 45 minutes that I would have them or the day that I would have them. And I always say, it's easier to build a child to not be broken than to heal a broken adult. But yet so many children today are growing up becoming broken because of something. A mom, a dad, a teacher, a bully, whatever. And perception plays a big role because it could be something that builds you up. I remember there was a guy one time when I was in Connecticut. I was going to the gym. He was my Uber. He was talking, me and him were talking. I said I was a life coach. And he was like, then he got a free session. So he said, you know what? I was bullied when I was in school. And he basically was able to look back and he was able to say, as much as I didn't like it during the time, I can look back at it today and I can say it made me stronger because I was able to overcome all of those hardships and challenges. And, it's an eye-opening experience because as much as a parent, I'm sure, wants to love and protect their child, they have to also let them experience the world, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? The people that are going to love them, the people that are going to despise them, right? They're going to be around. And of course, you choose to surround yourself with the right people. You choose to surround yourself with the people who are going to uplift you, who are going to allow you to feel the emotions that you need to feel. And if you get an inkling that this person is not for you, or maybe the time where you spent with an individual has come and gone because maybe they're on a different path, it's okay to separate. And I think so many people, they're caught up in the ties of maybe friendship or blood, where they don't truly understand their own path, their own journey. And we do have to understand not only ourselves, but the direction that we're walking toward. And if we don't like the direction, we can always change it. But yet sometimes people, they say, I've come this far, so why stop? They look at how far they have come rather than, how, or did they look at how much they have left rather than how far they've come. So it's something that you have to do the work and decide, you can go down this road and you can look at examples in life of people who have gone similar paths, and you can fast forward to their situation. Not saying it will be yours, but it's a good inkling. And you could say, is this what I want? Right? Some people, they sacrifice their health to make all this money. But then as soon as they're 50 or whatever, they're spending all this money to get back their health. So it's almost like we're living backwards. Many people choose to live backwards. And I encourage people to turn the script around and say, you know what, I'm going to live forward. I'm going to live forward to the life that is going to bring me so much more meaning, rather than the life that is equated to what society would like me to have. And, our conversation is definitely one that is going to continue on in the minds of the audience, because we don't necessarily know what specific thing that they're dealing with, because it could be unique. It could be independent from a father or mother. It could be about a friend. It could be about someone at work. And so your story, even though we might not have covered it today, it's an opportunity for you to say, you know what, I'm interested in uncovering what has been buried in my life. So Anat, if you could, can you please share with us some final words, and then also tell the audience where they can find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to touch on something that you said, which is, as parents, yeah, we want to give our children safety and everything, but we also got to let them, fall forward, right? Fail forward, experience things. I agree with that. And the best way that we could equip them for that is for them to learn how to have emotional range, emotional capacity, because every situation, if it's not related to mom, dad, and it's related to a coworker or a friend, or wanting to take a leap from a 9 to 5 job to starting a business, if you, excuse me, if you slow it down and pay attention to what's in the way of me having that conversation, or breaking up with this person, or asking this person out, or going for this career leap, it's some fear, which would create some emotion that they're afraid. It's a fear of feeling something. And so if we could learn again how to become what I call energetic Jedis, how to feel any emotion and move through it in 90 seconds, then no matter what life hands us, we feel we could be resilient through it as quick as possible. So if I were to leave the audience with something, I want to give you something tangible as to how to remember to move through and navigate your emotions. So I'm going to give you my 3 steps here. The first one is expanding your emotional vocabulary. Most of us, our emotional vocabulary is very small. It's like, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm annoyed, I'm tired. And like, that's it. But are you sad? Or are you discouraged? Or are you disheartened? Or are you lonely? You see, they're slightly different. So there's something that you guys could all pull up right now on your phone, on your computer. If you Google mood meter and you look at images of it, it's a graph with about 100 or so different names of emotions, like the ones I just gave. It's from, it was created by Yale University for emotional intelligence, and is to help you expand your emotional vocabulary. Because the more accurately you can name an emotion, the better you can connect to it so that you can process it. Because if you think it is that you're sad, but really it's that you're lonely, you're not truly going to connect to it. So that's first. The second is you want to create safety in your body, that your body will feel like it could go there, because it's scary to go there. a lot of times. So you want to take yourself from just being with the intent, with the emotion, to the physical sensations of it. So I'm feeling disheartened, or I'm feeling discouraged right now, or angry, or livid. What's the physical presence of it in your body? There's heat in my chest, or my hands feel tight, or my stomach is in a knot. When you start to name these sensations, you're speaking the language of the nervous system. What you're doing is you're bringing curiosity. You're using the logical part of your brain, which is therefore signaling to your body. It's taking your body from a state of reactivity, from whatever the emotion is, to a state of calm, and signaling to your nervous system that you're safe. It's that instead of being scared of what's behind door number 2, let me get curious about what's behind door number 2. Oh, it's not a tiger. It's not something that's going to kill me. So that's what you're doing. You're bringing curiosity by saying, I'm feeling this emotion that I just labeled. And if I really tune in and scan my body, by the way, I have a free guide for this on my website called Cultivating Safety Meditation. If you do that and you just name the sensations, the size, the temperature, the texture, the color, whatever you can, right in that moment, you're going to shift from reactivity to calm. Your system will be able to be with it. And then the third step is give it 90 seconds to be the star. Imagine for 90 seconds that this emotion takes the stage, and the casting directors in the audience are looking for someone who's really good at playing that emotion. And you want to land that role, right? When you think about casting for a movie, every actor that walks in is reading the exact same script, exact same words. What has them choose one over the other? Their ability to express it, to show all their emotions, to act it out. So act it out like a 4-year-old acts out their emotions, or a 2-year-old. There's facial expression, there's some sound they're emoting, and there's body language there. It's not just, I'm sad, and they're still. It's the full thing. It's express, not suppress. And I invite you to give a Oscar performance of it, because we're so used to suppressing the emotion that we don't even allow ourselves to be really expressed with it. So even if it feels like a 5 to you, like, yeah, I'm discouraged first instead. Can you do more of that? Set a timer, 90 seconds. It's actually a lot, like 90 seconds is pretty long. It is. It feels long. And it's the perfect amount of time for you to train your nervous system again for what this feeling feels like, because you're not suppressing it anymore. So you're training it like programming in data to a computer. And the beauty of that is that it's not just about you expressing it in that moment. It's that by training it, the next time that emotion arises, you're more familiar with it, less likely to see it as a threat, and your nervous system will metabolize it quicker. So you go from saying, oh, this is so uncomfortable, to not even realizing that, like, able to stay present with whatever you're going through, able to take that leap, to have that conversation where normally you might shut down. So 90 seconds. And after that 90 seconds, check in. There might be another wave. I call it like you're in the ocean of your emotions, and one wave can bring you to shore, but sometimes there's multiple waves. Underneath being disheartened, you may be sad, you may be frustrated. So keep riding those waves until you feel at peace, expansive, open, at shore, on the land of possibility, as I like to call it. And so that's a lot more than probably what you expected me to share, but I could not end this podcast without really giving you guys what I feel are the keys to emotional resiliency again, to us remembering how to feel our feelings all the way through.
And how can people find you?
I hang out on Instagram, and if you follow me there, you will get a private message from me within a week because I love to get to know the human behind the follower. I'm full of resources and support, and so just love to give it in that way. And then if you're curious about my programs and the free offerings that I have, you can go to my website, trainingcampforthesoul.com.
Perfect. And I'll make it easy for everyone. All the links will be right down below. Instagram, of course, also. And the last bit of the podcast where I have the audience or the guest, leave something with the audience. It could be whatever they want. It could be an hour long. Whatever the guest feels is appropriate, that is going to be what the audience walks away with. Because in coaching a session, there's no right or wrong way to do the episodes. This is definitely going to be like refreshing for many of the audience listeners because we have a very similar type of guests that come on. Typically, coaches, be it business, it could be healers, it could be energy. But when we have a special type of coach, very similar to you, and that, dealing with that inner child and the healing, few and far between, we have coaches like you come on. So it's going to be something where I'm sure people are going to say, this is some, great awareness that I'm going to be looking into, because we get so busy sometimes and we kind of keep on moving forward, and we're not worried about the potholes in our life because we can still, drive. Yeah, sure. We might get a flat tire one day. If it ever rained and it was icy and then the ice expanded, then now we have a big pothole, and it's like you're living in Connecticut or New Jersey or something, or New York, and you have all of these problems coming to, in your life. You're wondering, why do I have all these problems? And it's because we had a crack, we had an issue, and we didn't want to fill it in. So Today is a great day for you to, look at your road, the journey that you're on, and see where you need to fill in the gaps, fill in the holes. And I encourage everyone, again, check out the links, reach out to Anat on Instagram or her website, and begin to discover what you have always been missing, maybe. So thank you so much, Anat, for coming on, spending some time, and of course, talking about your work today.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. Thanks, listeners, for sticking with me.